Welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 with Refractor Jones and Bobbles and Ball Cards. Uh, hope you all have been enjoying all of the content out there. Hope your week has been going well. We do appreciate all of the support, the comments, the likes, the subscribes. So please continue to do so. We want you to be as much a part of our conversations as we are having them. So, as always, comments are encouraged. Refractor, sir, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful, sir. How are you?
I am doing pretty well here.
So
Uh,
you're real quick. You're saying that the chatter is not exclusive to us, correct?
no, sir. We both, if people have not figured out yet, we love to talk cardboard. In fact, if I thought my throat and voice would allow it, and if I didn't have anything else I had to do within my life, um, and if I thought people would actually sit and listen, I could talk about. I mean, if nobody has noticed yet, I talk a lot. I actually had to tell Refractor, I need to let you have more mic time because I love cardboard. I love talking cardboard. Um, I know you were on watching last Friday night. I've been on a few times now with him. I'll tell you, because I'm Carlos, his channel is fun. Um,
Yeah, it
I
is.
love getting on there with him because he'll roll for like 4+ hours. And I'm just like, this is great. He's got multiple people on there, everybody having conversations. There's different topics. I told him, his content, sometimes I'll turn it on Friday nights when I'm sitting here sorting cards or something and just listening to it because it does
Yeah,
have some humor. It does have some sarcasm, but he also touches on some topics and he has, like I said, several folks in there. He has Bobby Burrell, who's a historian in the hobby. He has some other folks. He had Andy. She blinded me with refractors on Friday, who obviously is a great collector and a wonderful person in this hobby. You had
yeah.
Bob Lewis on.
I didn't get to meet Andy this year over at the National, and I actually wanted to meet him, and I wanted to meet Mike and both Mikes actually. Mike O and Mike Moynihan. I didn't get to meet either one of them, and that was that was the one thing that I was a little sad about that I didn't get to do. But that's the great thing about this hobby is that it doesn't end. So
Right, right.
next year we'll see him next year. And
Yeah,
just
and
make it a point to cross that off the list.
I have to say, I honestly, what you mentioned in the last episode about being like starstruck or whatever, and I'm not that way either with any of these guys.
Yeah,
Um, but it gives me a lot of I, I I don't even know the word to use, but it makes me like enjoy. As I said, I do content as kind of just an extension of my hobby, and when I see the guys like Andy came right up to me, like at the National. Bob Lewis, who was on later on in the episode Friday with Carlos, came up to me. Anytime he would see me, he would come up to me and sit and chat for a while. And to be honest with you, I didn't know those guys even knew who I was. So it was like, wait a second, these guys are on YouTube and I'm doing YouTube. I didn't even know that they knew who I was. And they were coming up to me and I was like, holy crap. And anytime, even if it's not somebody on YouTube, anytime, somebody comes up to me and it's like, hey, are you Bobbles? Or hey, it's Bobbles. And I'm like, I never know how to respond. And I always apologize to folks. I'm like, I don't mean for this to be awkward. I just don't see myself as like anyone special, so to speak, or a celebrity or anything like that. And it's always cool when someone comes up and they recognize you because of doing content or videos. And I'm going to tell you, I know we don't have our faces on here, but there has been many folks, and this is just a little outlook for you, because your face may not be on here throughout the video content, but we have that little thumbnail thing, right?
yep.
And there's been many people that will come to me or stop and be like, "Hey, are you Bobbles and Ball Cards?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "I thought it was you. I recognized your voice.
Hmm.
So do not be surprised, Refractor, if folks do not see you at a show and go up to you and say, "Hey, are you Refractor Jones? I heard you on that podcast, The Card Chatter, and your voice is familiar." So don't think that folks won't recognize you, because it has surprised me how many folks said, "Hey, I recognize you by your voice." So
Yeah,
just
it was
preparing you
funny.
for that.
It was funny because when we were at the national, and I was sitting at at the one table that I bought a ton of refractors from. I think I bought almost 30,000 from this guy. I mean, his value boxes were absolutely ridiculous what he had. But I was sitting there, and some guy was talking to another gentleman, and he was talking about refractors, and he says, "Oh yeah," he said, "there's a guy that's on Instagram." He goes, "I don't know who he is, but he's got a lot of refractors, and it's crazy the stuff he has." And the guy was like, "Well, who is he?" And he goes, "I can't remember his name or anything." And of course, what shirt do I have on, right? Well,
Right.
I have the shirt that your wife made me that said, hashtag free refractor Jones. So I just happened to look over at at the guys, and I said, huh. I said, I don't know. I said, he might be somebody that I might know. And they're like, oh, you know who he is? And they're like, do you know his name? And I was like, I don't know. And I started scratching my chest. And they look down and they go, that's the guy, Refractor Jones. And they're like, wait a minute, are you Refractor Jones? And I'm like, yes, sir. and they
Yep.
and they were like, holy smokes. And they're like, well, we've been following you, for the last couple of years, and we just love, all your refractors and stuff like that. And then of course they started asking me about the 93 finest basketball refractor set, because I've built so many of those sets, and which makes it neat, and for me, like I said, I'm not a starstruck kind of person. I've been around plenty of celebrities in my life, and like Santana, which of course your baby loves, and 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 a lot of other guys, for that matter. But I don't, I'm not that guy that goes, oh my gosh, I don't go goo goo gaga over anything like that. So,
Yeah.
everybody puts on their pants the same way. We're all equal.
Well, and I've kind of told people that I don't speak on it a lot, but I had a little, like, blessing in my life, I guess you would say. It was a really cool experience for a period of time. I know you mentioned earlier on, I believe it was episode one when we were talking about ourselves, um, how you had, some time experience with working with Major League Baseball franchise, and I had a similar thing with NFL. Not specifically the franchise itself, but players from the franchise. When I lived out in Indiana, after my brother passed, I used uh, creativity, so to speak, with learning Photoshop and web development and stuff. I self taught myself and used that to it allowed me the chance to design and run a website for NFL uh, wide receiver, which then created relationships with a few other players within the NFL.
Hmm.
And I used to tell people, I was like, these guys at the end of the day, they're the same as us. They
Yeah.
just have a really cool job. And
Yep.
they're like, how did you get to meet them? And the coolest one was I got to go out to dinner one night and hang out with Larry Fitzgerald. And
Fitzy. Yeah,
yeah, he's
Fitzy's a
he's
good
an
guy.
awesome, awesome, awesome guy. Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
about like his talent on the field was, uh, insane, but as a person, like you put them on the level of just being a human being, and it's a completely different thing. And I actually got to do it because I used to talk to his brother all the time, Marcus.
Hmm.
And Marcus hit me up one evening and was like, "Hey, we're in Indianapolis if you want to come up and hang out," because they knew I lived in Indiana. And so I've always told people, you treat these guys like everybody else, they're gonna like be more accepting of you.
Hmm.
They don't want, they want to be able to go out to the store or go to a restaurant or what have you, go to a game or something without being, "Oh my god, it's so and so," You treat
Yep.
them normal, they're gonna treat you with respect as well, and,
Yep.
that
Yeah. It's
that's
how
one thing I
it's how friendships develop. You know, it's not because of who you are and what you do. You
Yep.
know, it's sometimes it brings you together because of that, but it doesn't have to be about that. You know,
Yeah.
athletes and stars in general, they just want to be people. You know,
I've
they may
always,
love their job, but they want to just be people.
and that's kind of what I've always told everybody. I'm like, because they're like, "Oh, how is so and so?" I'm like, "He's a regular dude." They're literally they're the same as us. They just have a really kick-ass job. That's all
Yeah.
it is. Their job is cool. We may not get to go out on Sunday and play, or be in the Super Bowl or whatever. Their job is cool, but they're just like us. They
Hmm.
just had a path that led them to a really cool job. So, anyway, I'm the same way, and YouTube definitely doesn't make you cool. All the guys around with camera crews at the National. I am sorry if I actually, here's one for you, and I don't think I told you this, but I know you went and seen Gary V at the
Hmm.
National,
Yeah.
and you posted a picture of him, which I thought was awesome, of him wearing the Team Mason bracelet. And
Yeah.
shout out to Mason. I hope he enjoys our conversations. Um, but I was back, and I was actually, you spoke on my daughter. I was looking for some F1 cards for her. She had
Hmm.
asked me to keep some eyes out, and there was a table back near where Gary was that had some. And I was just browsing through, and I was probably, I don't know, a foot and a half, 2 foot away from Gary. I seen him standing there, and there
Hmm.
was like this line of people and everything, and he didn't have nobody up at the table yet, and he probably thought, why is this asshole not even acknowledging me? Because I Gary's a great dude. I love the inspiration he puts out there for people. But again, he's just a guy. Like, I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
starstruck because, oh my God, you're Gary V.
Hmm.
He's just a dude that's doing things his way.
Yeah.
He's no different than me. His bank account's just bigger and he's more popular, right? So,
Sure.
I kind of laughed about it. I was like, I bet he thought I was an ass because I didn't even say, "Hey, what's up, Gary?" I just because I wasn't there looking for him. I was there looking for cards for my daughter. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it was just something funny. And there was people that could be that way. Oh my God, that guy didn't even recognize me. And no, I knew who he was. I wasn't there for him. And some
Yeah.
of the others with camera crews, I could care less. Sure, they're popular, but that's not important to me, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So you're
going
saying
back to,
we're not gonna have a cameraman anytime soon following us around at a show?
you know what? I enjoy watching show vlogs. I'll say that I do, especially on shows I've never been to, or to kind of just see the vibe of this show versus that show. But I've tried to film at like Chantilly, and I feel awkward. I feel awkward because I want to enjoy and soak in the cards,
Hmm.
and I feel like looking at them through a camera screen just isn't the same. I feel like I missed part of the show. I might try it again at some point, but only do it for a little while. And then that way, maybe go in, shoot 30 minutes or so of footage or whatever, and then appreciate and enjoy the show as normal. But I do enjoy watching them, but I couldn't have someone, I don't think I could have someone filming every little move I make at a card show. I just don't think I
You
could do
know,
it.
yeah, like next year for the national, I think it would be cool if we were to have somebody just film us doing our natural thing, what we do normally at a show. So this way, it gives people a little bit of of a bird's eye view of what we do normally at a show, what we enjoy, and that type of stuff. Because I've always wanted to be able to see over my own shoulder. So even though
Yeah.
that I'm looking at my own stuff and I'm pulling stuff left and right and everything else, I still would love to be able to go back and as I'm tearing down a value box and pulling all this stuff that I'm because I can breeze through that box pretty quick. I'm in and out of 5,000 count boxes in less than 5-6 minutes. It doesn't take me longer than that. I can break down
Well,
a box real quick.
you're also looking for a very specific thing. You're hunting for the refractors, and obviously they're very easy to spot. So that
But
actually makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah, but not only refractors though, because I love other parallel stuff too as well. Because I'm pulling for state productions.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm pulling I'm pulling like gold
Rubies,
rushes,
the
tops golds,
certifieds, yeah.
rubies.
Yep.
Yeah, anything that's a parallel, any of that stuff, I always pull that stuff as well. So, but I would truly like to be able to just watch a video one day of myself breaking down a box at a show or multiple boxes at a show just to see what it really looks like, from a camera's eye view. That would be interesting to me just to be able to see.
You say that, and that kind of shows like, so your show thing, and I got to experience this because pretty much the whole week of the national, you were at just a very few spots within the show floor doing your
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, I walked the
And
whole floor, so I mean, I saw what
yeah,
I
but
needed to see.
there was only a few places, like few locations that
Three,
had what you were looking
th-
for. So it
three,
was kind of easy to find you.
yeah, three had volume.
Right. And so you speak on that, and I do things obviously different. I took Friday to hunt through some value boxes, but you bring up a good point of seeing things like through the eyes of, like, look back and watch yourself at what you do at the show. And um there's something that many folks do when they're doing these vlogs, and I never really thought about it till you just mentioned this, and it would be kind of cool. Most of these vlogs, the interactions and exchanges between the person doing the vlog and the dealers or what have you are making deals and talking comps and talking like, how does a deal go down, right?
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, I probably spend most of my time doing exactly what we are doing, and that is talking to the dealers about just general hobby stuff. Do you ever find yourself that way? Like, you
You,
know,
you know,
your
when I
conversation being
when I watch those, it's funny because when I watch those type of episodes that are out there, that content, I find myself looking at the showcases and looking at
Mhm.
everything else that's there. I mean, I may be listening to what they're saying, but I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the showcases and looking to see what else is there. Like, hey, what actually interests me in that showcase? Even though they're doing a deal for this card and they're talking about this, what else is in there that I may like? What are they
Right.
missing? So that
Right, and
for me,
that's
that's what it
kind
is.
of that's kind of what I meant by, like, I like watching them sometimes because I get to see vibes, or like, some shows just feel like, that certain, and this is even true with like local shows, but some of them just have an audience. Certain shows have certain audiences, right? Like, I know there's shows around
Mm.
here that if I go to it, it's just going to be mostly ultra modern stuff.
Yeah.
um so it's cool to see, like, what is I guess I'll use the word vibe at Dallas. Like, what is the audience for the Dallas Card Show? Right now, currently, Rob is putting on the Burbank show, and
Yep.
I'm sure there's going to be tons, because there was looked like a lot of camera crews out there. So there's probably going to be tons of vlog content from the Burbank show, and hopefully you can see what the audience or the dealer availability was for that show,
Yeah.
and
I
you
was
can
so
kind of.
I was so sad that I didn't it just wasn't able to get out there, and of course it's in my back. Bless you. It's in my backyard, and I'm only 4 hours away, and I just couldn't do it this weekend because I was tied up doing charity stuff this weekend, and I really really wanted to go because he was going to have like 400,000 to 600,000 cards that were just a quarter a piece, and of course they were going to be stars, rookies, parallels, inserts, and that type of stuff. So I would have been in heaven. My whole
Right.
show probably would have been sitting right there at those tables, just loading up 5,000 count boxes and buying my volume and going home happy. Because the rest of the show, I can pretty much tell you it was probably going to be ultra modern stuff.
Yeah, and again, I haven't caught any of the footage, so I don't really know. I did hear, or actually, I seen a gentleman that I'm familiar with on Facebook that I guess was out there, and he did pick up a 52 Nano. So I do believe there was some vintage, but I haven't caught any of the footage, so I don't know for sure. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, someone else that kind of started. His channel kind of blossomed of who he is, and it's cool to see because he's a younger gentleman, but he has a wealth of knowledge. Speaking, playing off of our last episode of hobby expert type thing, and I do want to get into another topic, but this has been a good conversation that we've had going here. But that's Ryan from Breakout Cards. He's a younger aged content creator. His channel kind of took off because he started traveling to all these shows. I believe he did 52 shows in 52 weeks or something like that.
Well,
Um,
good for him.
but he grew up, I believe, if the story, and don't quote me, I could be wrong,
I think his
but
dad had a
I
card shop, right?
right. I think his dad, he grew up around cards. So, and his dad was like a vintage specialist, had a card shop. And so he learned a lot. He's put that book out called Spotting Fakes. So,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I do, and I've noticed with his content sometimes, and it's not every time he does a show, but a lot of times, as you said, he'll show what's in showcases. And maybe he'll ask a dealer, hey, can I see this card? And he may not be buying that card, but he'll ask the dealer to see it and he'll tell a story about the card.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that interesting sometimes because, it might be an old Judge card or an old Ginter or something like that, just some rare card. And because he spotted it there at the show, he might ask the dealer to get it out the case and let him just speak on it a few minutes. So I think that's
Yeah, yeah.
great.
You know what? I think he just did a video, didn't he, about 52 samples, 52
Yep,
top samples.
the salesman sample set. Yep.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, well, I mean, there were salesman samples and everything. I mean, all the way back to 1939 play ball, which are, those are my favorite, samples. So those those just hit totally different because they have that funky stamp on the back of it. But there was also the light stamp, the heavy impression stamp, and then the kind of fuzzy stamp. So
Are
there
you
there
talking
was
about Pokemon?
no. No,
Oh,
I'm talking about
I'm
legit
just messing with you, but that sounds
1939 play ball.
exactly that. It's funny the way that you're describing it though, because it sounds like the first edition Pokemon set where there's heavy stamp, thick stamp, all that, light
Oh,
stamp, gray
oh, really?
stamp.
Well, that
Yep,
tells you
it's
what
the
I
same way with the
tell.
first edition Pokemon, so that's why I threw that out there.
Well, it
But
tells you what I
anyway,
know about Pokemon. Nothing.
I I want to go back and I mentioned his name a little bit earlier in this episode, but because I'm Carlos, Carlos is he's supported this channel so far, and I do appreciate that. So I want to give a shout out to him and his channel. He has Friday night live, uh, live videos each Friday. They're normally several hours long. They're like I said earlier, there's a little bit of humor involved in it, maybe a little bit of mixed sarcasm. But one thing he does do is like to touch on hobby topics, but also not just from his own personal opinion, but other views and opinions as well. And this is something that we do want to touch a little bit on news, being that we're only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right now. Hopefully, maybe we can pop in some maybe breaking news episodes here or there when topics come up. So we're a little bit late to the party. But I do want to bring up, and it's been two now. We didn't do it after the first one. So we'll talk about both of them. And more specifically, I want to let you uh, discuss it a bit because you would have obviously more experience with the boxes, the packs, that sort of thing. But that's obviously the big topic of the 86 Fleer and maybe the BBCE wrapped stuff. Um, and I knew this is something that you wanted to speak on. So let's get into that a little bit. I know it's been kind of drugged through by many different channels, um, but let's touch on it a little bit.
Okay, sure. You know, for me, I'm definitely a wax collector. So I'm a cardboard collector, so I really shouldn't just say, yeah, I'm a wax collector. I collect everything. If it has a picture of a guy playing a sport on it, I have it. So of course I have wax boxes, and a lot of times when I was buying my wax, it was either I was buying at Costco, Smart and Final, um, Sam's Club, or my hobby shop. As a kid. And later on in the years, when everything came about that wax boxes were sitting at shows and you could buy wax for $7 to $15, I can remember vividly going to Gibraltar in Taylor, Michigan, and going to the Gibraltar show and buying all kinds of wax at no more than $10 a box. And I was, and this is probably, I'm trying to date it to where my daughters were at their age. Uh, so I'm going to say 2005, 2006, maybe right around there. Uh, I was buying boxes for anywhere from to $15, for wax. There was so much junk wax out there, it was crazy. So nobody ever wrapped a box back then. Nobody ever even thought of saying, hey, okay, well, this box needs to be authenticated to be collected. We just bought the boxes because either we wanted to open them up and crack them and play with them, or we hoarded them like I do. They're sitting on shelves. So the the whole BBCE scandal is it kind of upset me a little bit, because it gives that little extra dark stain. Because everybody loves controversy. Everybody thinks, oh, okay, let's be controversial. That's what's going to get a click. That's what's going to get a like, and that's what's going to get more eyes on you and more popularity. So I'm not going to do the whole poo poo on them, but it, I believe if you are stating that you are the authority in that field, your expertise, you cannot be irresponsible in what you're wrapping and calling authentic. And with the 86 Fleer, it's just too sketchy to be able to say without a shadow of a doubt that that box hasn't been Frankenstein and it hasn't been put together. Those packs can be pressed. You can press those packs and you can see the collation. All you got to do is look at the back of the stickers on the darn card. You're going to get at least almost 3 full sets out of a box. So if there's not, and Fleer was very good about this. Their collation was fantastic back then. It Whatever it was, it was. So in my opinion, both of those boxes, well, predominantly the first one was garbage, was absolute garbage. But the second box that was open was 100% Frankenstein as well. There's no way that wasn't a Frankenstein box. And I have a problem with that. You cannot wrap a box and call it an authentic box how it left the factory without having 100% proof that's able to be documented. And the only way to be able to do that is if he's got that case in front of him and he busts open the case and then he wraps the box. I can't send him a box of 86 Fleer right now and say, okay, here, authenticate this box for me and rep it for me. Sure, he can do it. He's going to make his money on it. What, $5,000? But what he charges to do an 86 Fleer box. But you know, how am I really going to know if I'm the consumer trying to purchase that box from me to know that that box is 100% legit the way it came out of the factory? It just can't be proven.
So knowing this, and I let me be 100% transparent. Okay, number one, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to either opening of either box. I do know about the collation of the 86 Fleer. I am in the 86 Fleer basketball group on Facebook. I have been for, I don't know, 2+ years now. Um, so I do know about the product and all of that stuff, but realistically, I didn't care about Golden and whatnot during this break. However, when things were started to be discussed about it, I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? Now, I did not get on watching all of the content that was done on it. I mentioned Carlos and them because again, it was a topic that came up, and he does have Bobby Burrell on the show, who kind of like is a wax historian and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so, their views and all of that, I didn't mind because they were just kind of discussing it. Now, for what you're saying, I would 100% agree on, because there has to be different stages if you're going to accept this or allow this to be done in the hobby, by saying you can't just specifically say authentic, right? It's
Right.
kind of like grading a card at that point. You can
Yeah.
say, well, the box is real. You can say, well, the wax wrappers are real. You can say the cards inside the wax wrappers are real. But there's so many layers to a wax box to just 100% say, yep, this is authentic. That's misleading to the hobby because, in card grading, you have a 10-point scale, what have you. There's different nuances to it. Why one there's a standard there, right?
Hmm.
When Steve's wrapping a box and putting that seal of approval on it, and it just says authentic, well, then somebody buying it needs to have more information regarding that box, because was this a box from a sealed case? Was this, as you stated, a Frankenstein box? Was this a box and I don't, again, I didn't follow the whole thing in full detail, but to my understanding, the box that supposedly was an anomaly, the first box number one,
No,
there
no
was some
anomaly.
history. Well,
There's no anomaly to that box. That was
Well,
garbage.
I referenced it to that because that's kind of what his response was. But he had
Yeah.
a history of that box because apparently, like, there was already documented video of the guy who I guess sent that box to Steve. And then Steve was like, to my knowledge, and again, please do not quote me on this because I didn't dive into it that far. But from what I remember, I guess there was a couple packs Steve had said had been resealed or something like that, and he
Right.
removed those two and replaced them with
Yeah.
two others. But then there was some other, like, that was even further than a Frankenstein. I mean, a Frankenstein
Yeah.
box, to what I would consider, would be, all right, 6 packs were sold out of this box, 6 were sold out of this box, but we combined them all together and
Yeah.
we made a 36-pack box.
Yeah.
But even still, even if the hobby says, okay, that's 36 legitimate packs, whether they had been searched or not, we don't know, but we know we have 36 true packs to a box. We know we have a real box, and we know that the packs have not been opened and resealed. I still think there should be some sort of designation when that box is authenticated to let the buyer and the consumer know this box could be 36 just random packs. Like, as you said, you could press, and let's be real, we could see what the top card at least was in every pack of wax packs back in the day. Like,
Hmm.
you could tell. And with a
Yeah.
collation and a known existing collation, it wouldn't be hard to go in and pull out all the Jordans, right?
Right.
Now, these boxes
And
did
which,
contain Jordans.
yeah, yeah, well, they weren't good Jordans. So
No.
again, that first box was garbage. That box, the entire box was no good. And that's why I have a problem with it, because when he pulled out a couple packs and he deemed them to be tampered with, then that box should have been excluded from a
Right.
wrap altogether. That box should have automatically turned to phase two, which he doesn't acknowledge and do. I mean, he does great packs, but that's where I feel that it should have already said, okay, look, we can no longer authenticate this box as a box. So now you are only eligible for pack grading as far as it goes, because we're not going to go and throw another couple more packs into this and call this an authentic box, because to me, that's not a box the way it came out of the production. If it's not coming out of the production facility that way, you cannot
Did he
say that that is a correct box.
did he ever disclose where those two random packs that got added in even came from? Because I mean,
From his inventory, which I'm sure he has, and then he charges back the individual for those packs. So
but
and,
we would be fair
and
to assume that his inventory that he got those two packs from would likely not contain, knowing the collation, a significant card, correct?
right, correct, yeah, and that's my problem with it. So if you cannot authenticate that box as a sealed box, then those packs should now only be eligible for pack grading individually, no longer as a box, and it should be excluded from that. And then
And
you send that all back to the owner and say, hey, look, I'm sorry, or even give them a call and say, look, I cannot authenticate this box as a true box that has left the factory and has arrived in your hands and now in mine. I just can't do it. But
I
you know, it,
I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, or if you remember, because there's been a lot to goes on with both of these boxes. It did he not state that one of the two packs had and it might have been just the sticker, but didn't one of the two packs that he claimed had been popped opened or resealed, or it was something about one of a certain pack or something in there that had a Jordan in
had
it,
a Jordan,
and I
yeah,
don't know if it had popped and been closed or if it was actually just a resealed pack. Could this
Jordan.
be a situation where the two packs that were allegedly, and I'm going to put air quotes here, the two alleged packs, could it have just been known? Like, what isn't there another card? I think it's Johnny Moore or something like that. That has a
Mhm.
very very low pop count that
Right,
brings
yeah,
it's like a common player, but in a
yeah,
10 it brings a very high
yeah. It's
a
a
high
there,
value.
correct. There is a premium on the Johnny Moore PSA 10s, but I mean that has nothing to play here within this box, that we're talking about. Truly, it's it's about the way you're authenticating this box and you're portraying this box to the hobby as being a good factory sealed box, because those boxes, for one, were not factory sealed, and two, you can't ethically sit there and remove packs from that box and say, okay, yeah, these are tampered with, or these look less tampered with than the others. So I'm going to exclude these. We'll replace them, and then we'll wrap this box for you and consider it, a sealed box. It,
Well,
it just
that's
that's
the
bad. That's a bad look.
well, here's the reason that I was heading down that road. Because you had mentioned, well, at this point, you shouldn't have authenticated the box, but you could grade individual packs. I'm going to
Yeah,
be complete honest with you. I think it's kind of silly to grade packs outside of, for, as you mentioned on grading cards, preservation purposes. But to grade a pack and then somebody pay a premium for a pack and crack that pack out and open it up, specifically with this set that has a known collation. I mean, let's be realistic here. How many of those packs are going to really contain great cards in them? I mean, I know what's the guy? I can't remember his name now. He always says "Have a good day." Um, he has a YouTube channel. I know he bought a couple packs. I don't remember if they were graded and he cracked them out or if he just bought them loosey. But he pulled a Jordan on camera. I mean,
mhm.
let's just be real. If folks know that they can tell if there's a Jordan in a pack, does having even a graded pack, should it like contain a premium?
Yeah, pack grading was really for those packs that you can't build a box for. I have wax all the way back, all the way to 74 or 75. 74, I believe, is the oldest sealed, wax box that, well, not really sealed, but I consider sealed, the intact, authentic boxes. But if you only had two or three of those packs, or if you found one at a yard sale, at a swap meet, whatever, or it was sitting in grandma's closet, whoever had this pack and you ended up obtaining it, there's no way you're going to put together a box of that stuff now. I mean, for the cost, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's why you grade the pack out and then preserve it, and it's put away, because sooner or later the pack's going to pop. I mean, that's one of those things that I always worry about with my wax. I'll actually go and spend, and this is why I come out to visit the world's largest top loader that JJ calls it, my other house, the card house. I go and I physically pick up every single one of my wax boxes and lift it up off of each other, because I have them all stacked there, on big heavy industrial shelving that I had custom built, just for my wax alone. I mean, you could park a vehicle on top of these shelving units, because they're holding 5,000 count boxes also of refractors and everything else. But I want to be able to make sure that these packs aren't, being messed with climate control and everything else. I'm really anal retentive about that kind of stuff. Like I told you, I was early in the morning. I was dusting. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning dusting any dust that may have been on top of my wax boxes and that type of stuff. So
So
I understand it. People love their stuff, and people love having their stuff wrapped, because it kind of protects it, also from the elements. But it's also a way to give that feel of authenticity of the item being authentic.
well, there's the key word and what I was kind of like thinking on my thought train here, okay? Because we just discussed there should be multi levels if a box is going to be wrapped. It can't just be said, all right, authentic, right? Authentic means we're good 100%. Nothing has been, it hasn't been Frankenstein. It
Yeah.
doesn't have any packs taken out and replaced. None of
Right.
that, right?
Case pop.
Right. It has to be fresh from a sealed case, right? Or there needs to
Yep.
be different levels of the wrapping and designation of the product. And that is
Correct.
also why I
Yep.
was asking with the pack, and maybe we shouldn't use the term grading. Should
Mm-hmm.
it be more just take away the grade of it, right? I mean, because I guess the reason I'm thinking this way is a pack is going to be like a card, and people are going to pay more for that pack based upon the grade that's assigned to the card. But
Mm-hmm.
just because the pack has a gem 10 on it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good pack. And then therefore somebody's going to, potentially buy that and maybe one day try to crack it open, but that could have been a searched pack, right?
Right.
Or a press pack as you referred to.
Yeah, but
Why
you
not
have
just
to
go with
assume.
authentic?
Yeah, but you have to assume that every single pack that's any vintage style pack, anything from, let's just say, from 83 on back, if you're just buying it and buying it as a sealed box, and if it doesn't have cellophane on it, you just assume that it's already been searched. Assume that
Well, and
it's pack pressed.
I think this goes even to like further now of where we are in today. Like, so I was sitting here as you were talking and, mentioning the Frankenstein box. Let's be real. We've discussed this card previously, and it's one of the first that I can think of where you couldn't really see through the pack. And that would be 89 Upper Deck. They had the fancy foil pack,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
You couldn't see in the pack. But one thing you
Mm-mm.
could do is a dealer or a LCS or whatever, they could have cracked a box and ripped packs until, and obviously it's not guaranteed you're getting one per box, but they could have cracked packs open until they hit a Griffey and
Mm-hmm.
then open another box, cracked packs, and if they hit a Griffey, stopped, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you could have taken mixed all them packs back together. And you have the same thing there. Now, they could argue, well, I didn't search the box because I can't see the packs, right?
Right.
But we know this same thing like happened. I remember, you know, 10, 15 years ago going to LCS and you couldn't see in the packs then. But when I walked in, if there was a product on the shelf, I would ask, has anything been hit? Because
Yeah.
we had to go off of
Their
the
word.
trust factor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why today in this hobby, we spoke on it a few episodes ago about how sometimes these boxes today only contain 6 packs in it. Well, that's because back in the day, a lot of us weren't buying boxes. We just bought packs.
Yep.
But the hits that are now contained in these packs, you almost have to buy the box because you don't know if these boxes, the hit's been hit. And many people probably don't even realize this, but Bowman Chrome, if you crack open a hobby box, and this isn't just an 80s or 90s thing. If you crack open a box of Bowman Chrome, sorry, if you crack open a box of Bowman Chrome baseball, every single box, the autographs are going to be in the same pack.
Hmm.
And if you go to your LCS, unless you can 100% trust your owner, and I know my shop, uh, Bart, shout out to him, card seller. I know when he cracks a box, put it on the shelf, he does take the packs out and he mixes them. Especially if he knows it's a product like Bowman Chrome, he will mix the packs up.
That's good.
Um, but if you don't know that your LCS has done that, or you've not witnessed it, or you don't know if it's a fresh box, they could likely pull those autos out, open up another box, pull the autos out, and just mix it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, the boxes today are
Well.
coming with that plastic wrap. The boxes
Yeah.
are being sold as a full box or even a full case because now you also have case hits.
Hmm.
So, people would buy a full case to know that they got the case hit.
Yeah. Yeah. For it, me as a cardboard collector, and I'm still going to buy wax because, of course, I'm buying collections. So I see wax and that type of stuff. And I'm more comfortable when I buy collections, large collections, when I see wax that I can give it a 50-50 shot and say, okay, it it may not have been touched, it may not have been Frankenstein, and then that's when I look at the box a little bit more in depth and look at the packs and see how they're set, and flip over a few, look at the seals on them, and just double check them to be comfortable that they're worthy of going into my collection. If not, then the box usually just gets opened up, or truly just given away, because I don't want that in my collection. Do I have Frankenstein boxes? I do, because I put together some 87, 88, 89 Fleer Frankenstein boxes. But I did this playing. What I did was, because I opened so much of that stuff, and keep in mind, all that was $7 to $10 a box. What I was buying it for, it was absolutely, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
What
and
I was
and
able to get that stuff for. So I would build my Frankenstein boxes, but of star players, and they had to have a star player showing on the top and a star player on the bottom. So if there wasn't a star player on the top, it needed to be on the bottom. So halfway through the box would be half stars on the bottom, halfway would be on the top, and those would be Frankenstein boxes. And then what I would do is I would take a little post-it note, and I would actually put a post-it note on the inside of the box, and I would write, Frankenstein, and I would put check packs. So this way I would always remember, because I have so many wax boxes, that I would know that these were boxes that I did this with, and I played with, and I created my own kind of all-star box, and that type of stuff. So
but that's
any
what you're
any
doing. That's what you're
right.
doing though in a collector aspect though. That's not for to make some anomaly box that you want to have wrapped by
But I could,
a
though. But I
company.
could but I could, Bobbles. This very easily it comes into play, because when I was building those star star premium boxes, I could have taken all those dead packs and just put them into another box and sent them away for wrapping, right?
And
And it
that's
would
why, like, I
and they would have been
guess
deemed authentic.
so full disclosure, like, wax doesn't stay sealed in my house. I have some, like, sealed sets that I've kept, and I have some like sealed, I guess they're called decks or whatever, that have like promo cards in them from Pokemon, that you can see the card in the box. But stuff doesn't stay sealed in my house, so it's not something like, I get it on a collector aspect, but even still, like, so this is going to beg. Uh, I know we're at the 50-minute mark, but I think this is a great conversation. And so let's rewind back a little bit further than the 86. And this is something, that neither one of us are like 100% delved in on the topic, but it's the Pokemon stuff that was associated with BBCE. And you mentioned a sealed case. Well, that was a sealed case. Now,
Hmm.
I feel that that was set up for failure from step one. Like,
Hmm.
that the tape alone being able to be purchased off of Amazon should have been a red flag, right?
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
that
See, I
was set up for failure.
yeah. The
But more intriguingly, and outside of that case and that whole scenario, because that's a topic that's long ago. But there was something that Steve said that got brought up through that whole journey and brought to light, is he had spoken to a Pokemon collector at some point, I believe through email. And it's known that Steve does the pack verification for PSA for their
hmm
pack grading.
right.
And he admitted that he did not know enough even about the packs, and that, and this was his words, that likely resealed packs had gotten through and been graded.
Hmm.
Now, that, even as someone who doesn't, like, it may not be my cup of tea, but I'm not going to hate on anybody that wants to collect sealed packs. But that alone right there would have, like, it put a big question mark in my mind, and it took a big whiff of confidence out of this whole process. And not just specifically for Steve or even BBCE, but the process alone, because if they're getting slabbed or they're getting wrapped, and it's just specifically saying, well, this is authentic or this pack is a 9, like, you have to start to wonder, like, how much of it is even legitimate.
Yeah.
And now we got these
What
two questionable 86 boxes, and you know
it calls into question everything that he's wrapped, and that's the sad thing
you had
because
the prism
I'm
box too that got overlooked.
right. Yeah, and like I said, it calls into question everything that he's done in the past now, and that's where I've always said, know what you know, and play in your sandbox. Don't don't assume because you know cards that you know everything about cards. Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm not going to tell the man how to do his business. It's his business. But if it was me, my personal business, I would have never wrapped the Pokemon case because I don't know Pokemon. I have no idea.
Right.
And even if I sit there and do a little bit of research on it and then say, okay, yeah, well, I feel fairly confident I can do it. No, I'm not going to do it.
It,
Ethically speaking, it it's always going to come back to bite you in the rear end. It's better to err on the side of caution than to just say, hey, I'll do it. It looks good enough for me.
well,
And
and
it can't be about the paycheck. You know.
exactly, and that brings into question, right? So you say you would not do it if you didn't feel confident in it or you didn't know enough about it, right?
No,
And that's
no
you in
way.
a business, that's you in a business aspect of putting yourself in a position to potentially set yourself up for I don't want to say failure, but for issues, right?
No, I'll say failure because you're hurting your brand. You're
Well,
killing your brand altogether because then the
but
trust goes out the door.
here's the thing, and this is where things like it becomes contradictory, right? Because there are folks out there that are supporting and defending the whole thing. To me, the process, and this isn't specific to Steve, this isn't specific to BBCE. I think the whole process, and we have discussed this now, that we know that many boxes are going to be Frankenstein. Like the collation thing with the 86 Fleer makes it easy to determine
Yeah,
potentially if the boxes were Frankenstein or not. But there's other
yeah,
products out there that you may not know. And without actually knowing, I don't think this process across anybody is being done 100% efficiently or like without, 100% confidence knowing that this is a legit box. It hasn't been tampered with in any way, not just packs opened or closed, but it's not been mixed up, it's not been Frankenstein. And it's funny because let's put ourselves as just the hobbyist, right? Just the collector. We're not running a business, none of that. Most of us are very cautious. We're not going to go out and blindly buy something. We're not, people are even scared to buy raw vintage, and that's the need for grading because they don't know if it's been altered. They don't know if it's been real. They don't know if it's been, whatever. But yet, a man that's running a business puts his company on the line by doing something that he did not know anything about or did something that he knew wasn't. And I guess it kind of needs to dictate what is the term authentic. Like, again, is it just, well, they're real packs? Or is this a real, let's use the term virgin here in a sense. It's been unmanipulated. It's a 100% legit box, right?
hmm
And but we as collectors sometimes don't even want to buy something, and maybe that's why these companies or these processes like wrapping boxes and everything are able to get away with some of this stuff because as hobbyists, there's so many questions. Like it's almost sad that we've gotten to this state in the hobby and the values attached to these products are so much that we need confirmation on everything. And if there's only one or two options out there, it's why I think even though I may, use SGC, I think it's great that everybody's got options because then you can
hmm
make your own choice as a hobbyist of who you entrust yourself with getting a grade assigned to a card or an authenticity assigned to whatever. Because
hmm
even something that people don't realize, we're speaking on 80s products and you can go further back, or vintage cards, right? But there is many things out there, even in ultra modern stuff, that aren't real or
yeah.
have been altered and not assigned an altered designation. There was recently a box of National Treasures football 2020 that was opened. Folks looked at it different ways. It wasn't BBCE wrapped or anything, but it had a Panini cellophane wrapping on it. Those that aren't familiar with that product, it has a sleeve that goes over the actual box. So once it's all together and wrapped in cellophane, you wouldn't know if the innards of that box is legitimate or not, right? Because it's going to look like a sealed National Treasures box. And you had the guy at the National with what was it, 2012 or 2013 Prism. He opened that up and it had Austin Powers cards in it. Folks have gotten so good now that they can cut the cellophane, remove the product, and repackage it and just reseal the cellophane that it looks like it's authentic. It looks like it's legitimate until you get to the contents inside. And folks are paying for the sealed product so much, thousands and thousands of dollars. And until it is actually opened, You don't know. If there was never
That's
anybody
that's true.
pointing out the stickers on that Pokemon case to where it caused Logan and Shine and Steve to finally say, "All right, let's crack this thing open." That could have went on through many, many, many years ahead of time and grown
Hmm.
higher and higher and higher in value to where nobody would have even known there was GI Joe cards that were being sold for millions of dollars.
Hmm.
You know,
But that's what a con artist, will hope to happen in the long run. They don't anticipate, that somebody's going to open that box anyway anytime soon. They figure out, okay, that box is going to sit, or that case is going to sit, and and they're going to forget about where it came from, who got it, and they can move on to the next con that
or
that
they're
they
going to
have.
look at the dollar amount of it sealed and they'll
Yeah.
think nobody will be ballsy enough to have the risk of actually opening it.
Yeah, and that's where BBCE think, where I think they need to do is to reevaluate their brand and remarket their brand by going to a tier system. Maybe go to a
Right,
5 tier system and say, hey, this box qualifies as a 5. 5 being the best. This is a box that came directly out of a case. 4, this is a
right,
box that this has been Frankenstein. This is a Frankenstein box. 3, this is a box that we deemed had a few removed packs out of it because we deemed them to be possibly tampered or popped. And we replace those, and now it's a 3 box, and then you go with the 2 being your packs, and 1 at being, hey, I can only authenticate the box itself. I can't authenticate these packs. He needs to
right.
go to a tier system. This way, people understand what they're getting. And
Yep,
unless he does that, he's not, because he's basically hurt his brand by doing what he's done. And it's unfortunate because I have BBCE boxes that are wrapped. And do I now call them into question? I have, and me, I'm not a poo poo guy, but I've been very tempted to unwrap those boxes now and just go through them and just double check them. And I think either he needs to adjust and go to a tier system as far as authenticating, or he needs to offer something back to anyone who does have BBCE boxes, an option to have these boxes relooked at and done in the new tier system, if he
recertified
decides
under
to
a
do that.
yeah. Yeah,
If he
and
decides to do that.
I had to, like I said, and again, back when we started this conversation on this topic, I didn't follow the whole thing that much because it's not my cup of tea really. Um, I am familiar with the collation and all that. I did hear the stories. I wasn't a part of the giveaway. I don't really watch anything on Whatnot, all of that. So I didn't get caught up in the whole media mass of the story.
Mhm.
I know why it got tossed out there, and you mentioned it, clicks, views, all of that stuff. It's just not my thing. But at the same time, when you were talking about it more and of other things that have happened along the way now, you know, I even feel that maybe if Steve can reevaluate things and go to a level system where it's more transparency is always loved in this hobby. And if he
Mhm.
can be more transparent and say, this is a level 2 box, it's authentic packs in there. They've not been tampered with, but I don't believe this is the initial 36 packs that were in this box. So you're
Yeah.
getting 36 packs, but they might have been from several different boxes. I think that would help be more transparent.
Yeah.
I also think that if we're going to put this trust level and these values on sealed products, even today in ultra modern stuff, with some of the stuff we're seeing for value or what people like to call investor grade wax, or even a sealed case such as that Pokemon, I think the hobby needs to say, look, we need to accept the fact that these original seals are broken. We're going to allow Steve or whomever, whichever company is decided upon to be the deciding, the authority factor. Even if PSA wants to get into this, or another grading company, whatever. But the original seal needs to be allowed to be removed from these products, and then a new seal is then put on them that cannot be tampered with. Because if we're seeing folks remove and open these boxes and reseal them, that's scary as hell too. Because
Yeah,
putting
but
another seal on it doesn't mean anything if it's not
no,
original to begin with.
right. Yeah. And that's where I was going to say, because it really doesn't matter, because a lot of this tape that was used back then was not made to stand a lifetime. I mean, I have cases that I know 100% were factory sealed cases, because I would buy all my cases from Murphy, Mark Murphy, and I would buy a ton of stuff from him and Cruck Cards. And I've only had one problem one time when I bought stuff, and that was because the tape popped. And of
Yep.
course, I wanted the case sealed, and with good tape on it. So I sent it back, and they sent me another one. But those, like I said, that tape wasn't made to last a lifetime. So that tape will pop. So even moving cases around, when I moved my entire collection over to the new top loader, eh, I ended up losing some of my factory sealed stuff in the aspect of being factory sealed cases, because some of the tape popped. And
And
so,
and the key is, like, I think what we're getting to here, the reason. So again, there's multi layers to these cases. Well, to a case, obviously there's multi layers. You have the full case, and then you have the box inside the case, and then you have the packs inside the box, right? And
mhm,
then you have the cards inside the pack. So there's
mhm,
so many layers to this.
yeah,
It doesn't. If you're just wrapping the outer layer without saying that the inside contents are all legitimate, then that outer layer really doesn't make a hill of beans.
right,
I really think, to 100% validate these products, there needs to be an allowance, and it needs to be looked on. Okay, cool, you have a sealed case, but again, who cares? Like, if you don't know if the contents inside that brown cardboard box with stop tape on it is actually what it says on the sticker on the outside, then who really cares? It's worthless, right? It's just a brown
sure,
box.
right,
But if the hobby accepts, all right, let them open the case. Let them open the box to verify the content of the box. Now, I'm not saying open the packs, but open the box, open the case, verify that everything is 100% legitimate, and it's just plastic on the outside. Who cares if it's panini wrapped, or BBCE, or anything else, tops, whatever. Who cares what the wrap or who the wrap is from? If you if that seal is cracked and it goes in there and confirms all of those are the original legitimate packs, and it's put back into that same box, all of them legitimately put back into that box, and then it is resealed, and then all 12 or 24 or how many ever boxes in a case are put back into that case, and then that's resealed, you have a 100% authentic, legitimized case of cards.
yeah.
Does it
Wait,
really matter that plastic wrap on the outside from Panini or Topps or Leaf or whoever to say you have a full sealed case because the packs are still sealed?
yeah, it could. I mean, it could evolve to that, but everybody wants their item authentic, coming back to them the way it came from the factory. I mean, it's kind of like the Topps finest cards, with a peel, without the peel. Do you peel your finest card, or do you not peel your finest card? Do you leave the film on it? You know it,
I tell you
so
that's a good point. I think that more so has gotten to be because, at least for me personally, for what I see, and maybe it's because we've sent so many in for grading, I see the value of the peel being on them more so upper tier, simply because it is a pain in the butt to get a high grade with the peel still on it. So
Hmm.
it's more difficult to get that high grade with the original peel condition. Me personally, I
Yep.
think the cards are more beautiful without it. But I do understand somewhat if you have a 10 with a peel on from 1993, you have done something because it's hard to get that peel in a gem mint right out the pack with that peel still on. So I do kind of
Right.
get that a little bit. But
Yeah.
no, I
It's
think
funny
this has been
because
a good topic.
I want to give quick shout out to a good buddy of ours, JJ. Um, he he likes playing with something that I love playing with. So it's wild card. Wild card, of
Yep.
course, has been rebranded and it's come back and it's new wild card. We've never left. We're still wild card. The brothers started the company and they did their thing, and of course there was licensing issues and all that other stuff. That's a whole nother episode. It's pretty big. But wild card cases came a box within a box. So really, they became a case within a case. So they were double sealed. So every darn
Yeah.
case was two factory sealed cases. So if you pop the first one, the second one on the inside had another factory seal on it. So there was a case within a case, and then you
Well,
had the
Tops and
boxes.
Panini do that too.
Yeah. But
They have
my thing
products
is,
like that now with inner cases. Yeah.
right? Yeah. But I mean, this was being done all the way back to '91.
Yep.
So again, the tape was never made to live the lifetime. It was made to be opened up so people can purchase the packs and play with the cards. So
And you mentioned it, true. JJ there. He is a amazing hobby friend. It's something that is on our topic list that I want to talk about in a future episode. But the funny thing is, and I don't know for a fact, so I'm not going to steal JJ's thunder. But I'm wondering because I hadn't ever heard of him talk about getting wild card those thousand stripes.
uh-huh.
And you probably don't know this, but I was sitting here one day in that collection I purchased early in 2021. I randomly picked a stack of cards up out of one of the boxes, and I
Hmm.
can't remember if it was a 50 stripe or 100 stripe, but it was a 93, which was, wild card had a very short run in the early 90s, and
Yeah,
93
91
was the
and
last. Yeah, it was
91 and
93 was the
93.
last year, and it was a Brett Favre, and it was a 50 or 100 stripe, and I was like, I got on eBay looking because I was trying to list some cards from that collection. And I got on there looking, and I was like, there's no way in hell this 93 wild card Brett Favre is really worth anything.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, started talking to him and Sean about it, and I was like, are these stripe cards really that sought after still? And I didn't know what to list it at on eBay, so I threw it up on auction. And not even kidding, 15 minutes after I listed it, I had a guy that sent me an offer of like 150 bucks on this card. And I don't know if that clued him into like starting to look for those thousand stripes, but it was kind of cool, just to pull a
Yeah.
random card out of there. And it's like, I always joke about it. The beautiful thing of this hobby is you can have boxes of $100 bills that you don't even know about.
Yep.
So,
My wife and I, we used to crack a ton of wild cards. 90, because we did basketball and when we did 91 football, and the flair wore off for her after 91. But for me, I I've always loved wild card. I just like in singles alone, I easily have 10,000 plus stripes in my collection.
what?
And then I've built sets, the 5, 10, 20, and 50. And of course, I don't have any thousand stripe sets, but I have plenty of thousand stripe cards, just no sets.
Yeah, and I don't know if people remember them too much from back in the day, but they did have a lot of interest because of there was a lot of key rookies.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously Favre.
yep.
That was a big card to get as a kid. Now, obviously, they're dime a dozen out there today, the non-striped versions, but that was a key card of his, just like the Pro Set. The Pro Set rookie
Hmm.
Favre was another big one. So. But
Yep.
anyway, I think this has been a good topic. We are just over an hour on this one. So, any final thoughts on, you know, the 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 wax, the sealed stuff? Any suggestions maybe because I think something we talked a little bit was, taking caution in how you buy the stuff based off of your knowledge. Maybe instead of relying upon a plastic wrap, maybe finding folks to reach out to or educating on product if you're looking to buy sealed product might could help some people even more than having that plastic wrap around it. Any
Yeah,
final thoughts on that
you
or
know
tips, suggestions?
yeah, the wax box community, there's it's a great community. Of course, it's a card community, so it's great in general. But the wax pack community that is available to everyone, of course, on Facebook. There's a couple groups. They're fantastic. Everyone is very helpful. If you have questions on something, they'll always answer you. Nobody, berates anybody. Nobody gives anybody a hard time. So it's all about education and learning. But if you're buying collections the way I do, when going out and traveling the country and stuff like that, you could pretty much tell if that box has been touched or not. You know, if you're in the hobby long enough, you're gonna know what a box, a fresh box looks like, even if it's 20 plus years old. If it's just been sitting in somebody's closet or just been hanging out, in a dusty garage somewhere, they really don't change. They're very typical of what they are. And when you see one, you pretty much see them all because they all have the same characteristics, to a T to what it is. So and again, as far as BBCE, they have to go to a tier system. I mean, it's the only way he's going to repair his brand and to change things. And I'm a supporter of his stuff, of course, because I have some of his stuff, and I've never had a problem with his things. But again, it does call into question now with these so-called issues, and I really shouldn't say so-called, but I'm saying so-called because I'm just being friendly about it. You issues are issues, and you can't hurt your brand that way, and you can't
Right,
hurt
and
other collectors.
I think it's fair to say too, um, this not again. I don't have a bone in this fight either way or the other because if I had sealed wax in this house, it would definitely not nothing against Steve or the company BBCE, but it wouldn't have wrapping on it because the missus would open it. So I don't have a dog in this fight, but I think it's fair to say that over time things evolve, things change, and not just for the good, but there's let's be realistic, counterfeiters and the people doing all the shenanigans get better and better and better as time has evolved too. So in fairness to Steve, I think brands and companies also need to be allowed to evolve. And
Sure.
just because he's done things, all right, back when he started the company, it was easy to take a box, look at it, give his opinion, wrap it up, say, all right, I'm putting my stamp of approval on it. That was okay for a while. But the chess game has gotten a little bit more complicated, and maybe it's time for him to step back and say, I need to change this. I need to evolve and, change the way of my processes, change the way of my authentication, change the way of my stamp of approval. And again, I think it would be great if he would do it in a tiered system. Now, would it complicate things on his end? Sure, because he's not just throwing a wrap on it and saying, sure, it's good.
That's okay.
He has
Charge a few more dollars. That's fine.
right.
I'm okay.
And
I'm okay with paying it.
And I think to even go further than that, you mentioned sending in stuff that he's previously done. He could offer that to folks. Look, I'll unwrap your box and I will give you my new tiered, certification. They would have to repay maybe at a different cost or what have you, but it could improve even the value of that under a new authority and system. So I don't want to poo-poo on him.
No,
People have gotten better on both sides of the fence. But I do
sure.
think, in fairness to him, he should look at evolving the authentication process and maybe changing some things, whether it's scaling or even if he has to be more hard ass on it and say, no, this is a Frankenstein box. I'm not putting my name on it.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to bring this up earlier. I'm gonna touch on it real quick because we are at 120 now. Um,
What?
I
120.
hear, yeah, yeah. It's
Wow.
so easy to talk.
It is.
There's something I hear all the time saying that BBCE sucks because they don't guarantee like a money back guarantee on their product. And I want to specify something. That does not bother me one bit because we all know that not everybody is opening their box on whatnot or in a break or on camera for that matter. And you would be putting your company at such high risk for someone to open a box, claim shenanigans, and file for a money back guarantee on a product that you have no proof from. Furthermore, he could not, force anyone to open a box on camera or anything. So in the wax game, that's like saying, "Hey Panini, I opened a box and I didn't get my money back. I want my money back. You didn't give me my 2 autographs. You gave me Panini points."
Hmm.
It's just no way for him to guarantee something that he cannot be full sure that somebody's not going to manipulate that system. So anyway, all these people out there that are poo-pooing on him because of his money back guarantee thing, you got to think bigger than just he's not backing the product. It there's a lot more that goes into that. There's
Sure.
no insurance that's going to say, "Oh yeah, sure, Steve, say that these sealed boxes are fine, but if somebody unseals them and claims otherwise,
Yeah. Can
we're
you
gonna we're
imagine?
gonna help you cover this." There's
Yeah.
nobody out there that would do this.
No. Yeah. Nobody. Nobody would cover.
So, but anyway, I think it's been a great topic, Refractor. As always, man, I really enjoy talking with you. I hope everybody out there listening. I know this one's going to give you break it up. Go to 30-minute segments or something if you need to. But I hope you do enjoy it. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. But until the next episode, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys.